Hello everyone, and you're watching Sharing Vietnam on VTC 10 NetViet. With today's program, we welcome Mr. Jonathan from Proskills, and he will share with us what he has observed from Viglacera, the pilot project that Proskills will do for improving the skills of the labor in terms of improving the capacity of enterprises in Vietnam. Can you share with us a little bit more about what you guys do and what are the customers that you guys usually partners with?
Thank you, and it's lovely to be in Vietnam, and it's great for Proskills to have the opportunity to share its experience. Proskills has been around for 10 years, and at the moment we look after 10 different industry sectors within the UK. So we look after organisations in the building products industry. We also look after employers in print and paper, furniture, wood, health and safety, coatings, so that includes paint and such like. So we have quite a wide remit, and we are a UK government recognised body that was established to set up vocational skills programmes within employer workplaces. And what we wanted to try and do was to get employers more involved in that process, for them to part fund those activities and to drive up skill levels, leading to better productivity and more output from all the organisation in terms of quality.
And why is Vietnam is the appropriate market for Proskills to done some research and also having cooperations between Vietnamese enterprise and your company?
We've been here once before, and we were working with Vietnamese. We've come here this time to be working in building or construction products. Vietnam at the moment doesn't have the same infrastructure in place that we have in the UK, and it's always looking forward to try and develop its people, and we believe that the UK model, the transferable part of the model, is ideal for what Vietnam is trying to do. So in that process, what we are doing is to bring our experience, share our mistakes, share our good things that we've learned over 20 or 30 years of doing vocational skills, and see if Vietnam can take all of the good things and develop something that fits Vietnam. And we want Vietnam to use some of that experience to grow its own system, so that in the future it doesn't have to worry about bringing the UK to Vietnam to help. Vietnam can do it for itself.
And for this pilot program that you would like to implement in Vietnam, how do you assess about Viglacera as the first companies in this pilot program?
We've been here a week now, and in a week we've gone to 6 of their sites, and we've had quite an intense session with them, looking at how they build on vocational skills, so how they train their staff, how they assess the quality of their staff, but also how they use vocational skills in the induction process and in the recruitment. And so far, most of the sites we've been to have been training their staff, and the quality of the training is variable, so it means that some sites are better than others, and some sites look after their people in terms of assessment. They do assessment quite well, but they don't record it maybe so well, or they don't use the information once the observation has been done. So in all of the sites, they were all different, and if you drew a line and this end was quality and this end was not so good, there was one company that sat at the top end, and then they were dotted all the way through that line. So it's quite variable, and our role here is to help Viglacera create a system whereby every single site, things are done the same way, that they're standardised, that they're of high quality, that the trainers are good, that the assessors are good, that the content is good, and that they have a robust system that really makes a difference to the business.
And we would like to continue on with the assessment about the skills of the labor in Viglacera, specifically, as well as other Vietnamese enterprise that you have cooperated with.
You have a really good technical capability already. There are always extra things we could all learn. Some of the sites that Viglacera has, they're very advanced, and it takes a lot to be able to deliver that technically. Viglacera is very lucky. It has a vocational college, and we want the college to work much better with its employers and the sites that are within the Viglacera group. So it's not just about the material, it's about the system as well.
So as you have mentioned before, that there are some kind of shortage in the Vietnamese companies, and what are those things is, and how will this program of Proskills will fill those gap and fill up those shortage?
We have lots of examples that we have from our 17 countries that we work with, and we'll certainly be sharing all of those experiences with Viglacera. We've already started some of that work, so during the course of each of the meetings that I had with managers and the teams at the companies last week, we already began to share some of those ideas that we had, because there are lots of things that Viglacera can change without making big problems for themselves. They can just do it at the managerial level. We'll work with the colleges and the employers within the Viglacera group to map out the training programs to make sure that we develop some national standards. And what we really want is, if there are companies that belong to Viglacera in the north of Vietnam and in the middle and the south, we want them to all operate the same way in terms of vocational skills. So if you're in a management job in the north of Vietnam, it should be the same standard that you reach as in the south of Vietnam. And at the moment that doesn't exist. The standards are all over the place.
It seems to be like a really long process, so would there be any difficulties in all the journey of applying this program of Proskills?
It is a long process. It will not happen overnight. Here in Vietnam, it seems to be, particularly in the Viglacera group, that you leave your university, you do your on-site learning at work, but it's not really lifelong learning in the same way that we think about it in the UK. So we hope that by sharing that and changing that culture, that they will recognise that the skills that you and I learn at work every day in our lives are just as valuable as the ones we get from high school, college or university. So if the business wants to produce more or produce higher quality or to be faster, to be the best, to deliver excellent customer service, then the training strategy should tie into and reflect those ambitions of the organisation. Otherwise, the question is, how is it going to do that if the people don't do better? The skills, we can bring those in from wherever we need to help with the technical side or the soft side.
And would there be any barriers and difficulties in terms of the cost?
Vietnam recognises already that it won't be able to do everything that we do in the UK, or it might not want to do everything that we do in the UK, which is more important. So we will build a system that is kind of self-generating.
And for companies that have achieved the standards of Proskills, what are the opportunities that the Vietnamese enterprise will be open up with?
It's good for Vietnam in export of skills as well as it is for incoming skills, so it really helps the migration and the balancing. And most companies, of course, are dealing with international marketplace, a global marketplace, and sometimes customers in China or maybe in Europe want to know how well qualified your team are, and they will understand 8 levels of qualification, but at least they can benchmark it accordingly to those international standards. So really quite exciting times actually, because it'll be the first time that Vietnam has been able to match what it does with the rest of the world.
And lastly, what are some markets or fields in Vietnam that you guys have been looking at and would interest in future cooperations?
Just to really understand what other key targets there are in terms of industries and how best we can support them. And the idea is that this project may well provide the template for all other sectors. We run this pilot for a year, we learn the lessons, we then call all the other industries together in Vietnam, we share those ideas and we come up with one template so that others can do things in the same way, even though it will be different for each of their industries because of the type of task that they carry out or the type of industry that they are.
Thank you, Mr. Jonathan, so much for all of your valuable sharing today.
It's my pleasure, and it's a great country and we're pleased to be here.
Thank you and see you again.